How's it going, everybody? It's Pilot Flame, and we are back with another preseason FPL video. And today it's going to be Price Reveals Part 2. They released a few more sets of prices last evening at UK time, and they've released a bunch more now. So I'm going to amalgamate them all and see if I can go in chronological order to kind of break down what the prices are and what potentially could be quite interesting and what we're not so interested in terms of how we want to structure our team and where these players could potentially fit into our FPL teams going into next season. If you haven't done so already, make sure to leave a like on the video and subscribe. It greatly helps out the channel. I cannot stress that enough. And turn the notification bells on so that you can get the content as soon as it is readily available. Drop us a follow over on Twitter. I've been retweeting basically every price change that exists out there to players and what their prices are. And give us a follow over on Twitch, because if they were releasing basically full team sheets of player prices, we could be in for a situation where the game could be released basically any hour now, any minute. And yeah, we'll be going live for our team creation, as it were. Whether the Euros games are on or not, I'll be going live 100% on Twitch. So make sure to follow us over there for that. So without further ado, let's get into the price reveals. So again, like last time, we're going for a bit more of a freeform one. We have Norwich's full team list here for FPL. So the only real ones that kind of interest me would probably be Krul, Cantwell, maybe Teemu Pukki. The rest of them probably not so much. So Tim Krul, 4.5 million, kind of expected that. Cantwell at 5.5 million, could be okay. Maybe a little bit too expensive. We'll see. When he first burst onto the scene, he was 4.5 million and did okay. But 5.5, with Norwich's fixtures, and I have the season ticker up this time, which is on Fantasy Football Scout if you haven't checked that out already. And if you can see, right down here at the very bottom, Norwich has Liverpool, Man City, Leicester, Arsenal, and Everton in their opening 6. So it's not looking great for them. And Teemu Pukki is at 6 million. Those are all fair prices. The rest of them don't really interest me too much because of how bad their fixtures are. It actually makes my job very easy when it comes to making my fantasy team, that I can just completely ignore Norwich, basically. Unless they obviously get off to a good start and they beat Liverpool or beat City or something crazy like that. Mind you, they did it last time in the opening couple of weeks, and then Teemu Pukki stopped having a Pukki party. Moving on to the next one here. This is the full list for Leeds. Now, if we look back at Leeds' fixtures again here, we can see that Man United, Everton, Burnley, Liverpool, Newcastle, West Ham. So, in the opening couple are a bit tough, but then three out of the next 4, Burnley away, Newcastle away, West Ham at home, aren't bad fixtures at all. If we expand this out a little bit, you can see that Leeds go very much into the top portion of the table, because after West Ham, they have Watford at home, Southampton away, Wolves at home, Norwich away, which is looking quite tasty for them. So if you want to start with a Leeds asset and kind of just hang on to them and not necessarily play them, or just play them just because they're that good, like Rafinha as an example, that could be quite beneficial for your team. And if we look at the players here, all the defenders are 4.5 million, except Meslier, who's obviously a goalkeeper, and he's 5 million. So if Bielsa continues to stick with Meslier, you're going to have to pay a little bit extra for him. But I like the fact that the defenders are 4.5 million. Maybe some enablers on there. We will see. Rafinha, 6.5 million, is probably the best price player in the whole list here. I think Bamford's probably a no-go at 8 million. I just don't think he's going to be as valuable as the likes of maybe a Calvert-Lewin or an Antonio, somebody like that, with their opening fixtures. So I think probably the players to look at here is just mainly Rafinha, and then possibly Ayling if he gets back into the fullback position where he is so good when he plays there. And another thing to notice, obviously Dallas is a 5.5 million midfielder. He's not a defender anymore. 5.5 million is probably a fair price, I would say, for him. If he continues to play in that advanced midfield role, I think that could be quite valuable. Will he be better than the likes of a Rafinha who plays a full season? I don't think so, but I think the 1 million difference, definitely there's an argument to be made there. So, moving on. So these were the Spurs price reveals. So this was the ones that Spurs announced. Lloris at 5.5 million. Again, he was that price last season. Not really too much going on there. Son at 10 million. I think this could be very, very expensive for Heung-min Son. If Harry Kane were to leave and go to City, 10 million for Son would be just way too expensive. Who would he have to be able to get the points that he did like last season? And Son kind of fell off a bit towards the end of the season anyway. He got, I think it was like a third of his points in the first 6 game weeks or something crazy like that. Kane at 12.5 million, no surprises there, tied for the most expensive player in the game based on the price reviews that we've had thus far, with Mo Salah and Højbjerg 5 million, not really an FPL asset, but Kane being so expensive with Salah, if we will be getting on to Man City and United's prices, which have been released, but it's looking like a lot of the big guns are going to be 12 million, and if that's the case, we're only going to probably be able to have 2 of them, maybe, in our teams to start off with until we get a little bit more cash where we can probably sufficiently hold 3 in our team. And Son being 10 million is going to be quite expensive. I think Kane 12.5 million. We look at Spurs' fixtures to start with. If he stays there, Man City at home isn't great, but Wolves, Watford, Crystal Palace could be okay for those middle 3. The problem is that if you don't have any money up front for a striker for that amount, and you want to get Kane in game week 2, you're going to have to start from the beginning if you really want him. So that's going to be interesting in itself. If Kane does go to Man City, however, and you start him from the beginning, he's obviously going to play for Man City. Man City is towards the lower half of the season ticker. They have Spurs away to start, but then they have Norwich at home, which is a fantastic fixture. Arsenal at home should be fairly comfortable. Leicester away could be tricky. Southampton at home is quite good, and then Chelsea away is a bit tricky again. City's fixtures are a bit of a mixed bag, but they are the reigning Premier League champions. Moving on to West Ham. So this was the initial release. We have the full release as well. So Antonio, 7.5 million. That is a very good price. It's a much better price than the likes of Patrick Bamford. I think it is definitely a fair price. I think he was way underpriced last season at 6.5 million. When he was moved to a forward. So I think this is probably about right for Antonio. I think this one's spot on. Souček at 6 million. Obviously, we'd like him to be 5.5 or cheaper, but 6 million seems about right. Cresswell at 5.5 and Soufal at 5 million. I think Soufal at 5 million makes a lot of sense. I think Cresswell at 5.5 million. Would have liked to see him at 5 million, but that's probably asking just a bit too much. The set piece taker. He is going to be priced at just a little bit more. And obviously, we would have liked Soufal at 4.5 million, like he was when he came in. But that was never to be the case with how well he was doing at West Ham and how well he's doing in the Euros at the moment. So, moving on to the full price list here. I'm just going to expand this just a little bit here. So, we know, obviously, Antonio, but the goalkeeper situation. So, Fabianski, 5 million. Probably a bit much for a West Ham goalkeeper, in my opinion. If he would have came in at 4.5 million, that would have been definitely a big decision to make. Looking at the other defenders, the main ones, Ogbonna, Dawson, Soufal, they're all 5 million. That's to be expected. Fredericks, Masuaku, and Diop. Now, this could be interesting, potentially. West Ham's fixtures out the gate: Newcastle, Leicester, Crystal Palace, Southampton, Man United, and Leeds. So if you compare a defender that has good fixtures in 2, 5, and maybe 6, you might be okay there, I think. If Masuaku is going to be playing in that wing-back role, if Diop is playing in a back 3 potentially, we'll have to see how that kind of goes. And I think there could be a good bit of a little bit of value there potentially. Now, whether Masuaku comes back and he's just injured again all the time, that could be an issue. I had him last year and that was the case, so we'll have to see on that one. Bowen at 6.5 million, Lanzini, Benrahma, Souček, Fornals, all 6 million, Yarmolenko 5.5, Rice at 5, and Noble at 4.5 million. I think Bowen at 6.5 million, probably about right. They seem to think that he's going to be a little bit more involved than likes of Benrahma and Fornals. Not really sure that that's going to be the case here. Benrahma at 6 million could be a very enticing price, but we'll have to see his playing time. That's really the main issue there. So I'm just going to make this back to normal zoom here. And this was the initial release of Brentford's first set of price reveals. So Raya, the goalkeeper, 4.5, kind of expected. Pinnock, one of their defenders, 4.5 million. And Buemo, I think is how you pronounce the name. I'm going to be butchering names up all season until I finally get them right. And then if the team gets relegated, then I don't have to worry about them anymore. But Buemo, I think is how you pronounce it. 5.5 million is, I guess that's a reasonable price. But Ivan Toney was the main one. He's the main man. He's the goal scorer, the creator, the everything, the one on penalties. 6.5 million. I'm a bit disappointed with this one, just because I expected him to come in at 6 million, the same as Pookie, which would have been a sure shot thing. 6.5 makes it a little bit awkward potentially for that price slot, but you can always go down to the 6 million forwards, but there's not many of those anymore. You know, the likes of Bamford, the likes of Calvert-Lewin, all those players have, well, Bamford especially has jumped up. Calvert-Lewin, I would assume, is not anywhere near 6 million. So yeah, it was a bit interesting to see that. Looking at the you know, the full price list here as well, you know, as to be expected, all the defenders pretty much 4.5. Some of the, you know, bench goalkeepers and bench defenders are 4 million. Most of the midfielders are 5.5 million. Makes sense. And then Ivan Toney being the most expensive player on their whole list. That makes obviously the most sense. He's the one that's got the highlights. He's the one that everything goes through. He's the penalty taker as well. If we look at their fixtures as well, though, Brentford overall, about middle of the table. So they have Arsenal at home initially. They'll be right up for that one. Crystal Palace, Villa, Brighton, Wolves, a very good stretch of fixtures at the start, you know, on paper, and then Liverpool. So, might not be a bad idea to go with potentially a Brentford player, maybe the Brentford goalkeeper, potentially. He will be racking up a lot of saves, hopefully, if you were to have him, because of the fact that they're going to be the team that's going to be, you know, the newly promoted team, the one that's basically, their main goal is basically don't get relegated again. And I think Brentford have the, you know, they have the squad to stay up. They really follow that kind of a Moneyball style from baseball, which is basically everything is driven off of statistics and basically law of averages type thing. So if you haven't watched the movie Moneyball, basically it's about the Oakland A's, which basically they brought in players that are very good at getting on base and that sort of thing. So it basically gives them the best opportunity to score runs for the cheapest price possible, which is what Brentford has kind of done with their players. And if Ivan Toney has a very good season this season coming, you might see him making his big move next season to another higher profile Premier League team. Now, here's the interesting one. Manchester United's price reveals. They released all of them on Manchester United's website. And the main interesting point right off the bat, Dean Henderson and David De Gea are both 5 million apiece. So that could be very, very interesting. I think what FPL has done here is quite smart. They've lowered the prices of both of them because I believe they were 5.5 million last season. And what they've done is, well, David De Gea was 5.5, and I think Dean was 5. So they've both lowered them down quite significantly. For a team that came second, this could be quite advantageous as a set and forget goalkeeper. The problem is that we need to know what goalkeeper that's going to be. And if you get it wrong off the start, you could be in a bit of trouble. But, you know, 5 million as a premium goalkeeper could be fantastic. And if we look at the season ticker, Man United is 5th overall. Leeds at home, Southampton away, Wolves away, Newcastle at home, West Ham away, Aston Villa away off the start. Very, very good start. Moving into defenders, Luke Shaw, Maguire, Wan-Bissaka, all 5.5 million. Just makes the most sense. Center backs, you know, Victor Lindelof and Bailly, they're going to be 5 million. So if you wanted to, you know, go a little bit cheaper, maybe go Lindelof alongside Maguire, who that's going to be his partner, almost sure shot thing, unless you need to buy a center back, in which case I expect them to be at 5.5 million, almost certainly, maybe more. Tellez 5 million, Twan-Zabi, Brandon Williams, they're all not going to be basically used at all. So Luke Shaw 5.5 million looks like a pretty good price. I believe he started last season at 5 million and then kind of rose to around like close to this price, so that's to be expected. Wan-Bissaka and Maguire were this price last season, no surprises there. Moving into the midfielder, so here's Bruno Fernandes. His price is 12 million. So again, another midfielder, another big name that is priced very highly. So we got Son at 10 million, who was, I believe, 9 million last season. Bruno was 10.5. He's now 12. We have Salah, who was 12.5, who's still 12.5. Kane was, I believe, 10.5, and now he's 12.5. So prices are definitely getting hiked up here. So he could be quite expensive with Jadon Sancho potentially coming in. Does that pull away from his points? We'll have to see. Marcus Rashford 9.5. You know, that's, you know, a little bit on the expensive side, but we know that Marcus Rashford can be very good on his day. Paul Pogba 7.5. Not really too interesting there. Mason Greenwood at 7.5 million could be quite interesting, but if Jadon Sancho comes in, that kind of kills it altogether. Jesse Lingard at 7 million. So if he goes to West Ham, he'll still be the same price. Could be quite interesting as an attacking option. Van der Beek, Dan James, McTominay, Fred, Matic, not really interesting there. But Martial at 8 million could be quite good. I think he dropped 1 million entirely from last season. I think Edison Cavani at 8.5 million. I think he was around that when he came in. I can't remember exactly. But yeah, definitely could be interesting. If United don't buy a striker, Cavani's probably going to be the one to lead the line for United. Will he get rotated quite heavily? He probably will. Martial will still see playing time, so it's probably a no-go for the forwards there. But Fernandes being 12 million, we're starting to get the tighter and tighter budgets, so quite interesting there. Now, this was Leicester's price reveal. So Schmeichel, another good team goalkeeper at 5 million. So set and forget goalkeepers could potentially be a thing this season for the bigger teams. Leicester and United, two teams that now have goalkeepers at 5 million. Although Leicester's is way easier to pick because you know Schmeichel's going to start. That's how it's going to work. So 5 million, I think, is a very, very good price for Leicester. If we look at their fixtures off the start, Wolves at home, West Ham away, Norwich at home. 3 very good fixtures. Then they obviously have Man City at home, which isn't ideal. Brighton away and Burnley at home. Fantastic fixtures off the start. Couldn't ask for much better, to be honest. Iheanacho is a 7.5 million forward. We kind of expected this price hike. Will he stay in the team? I'm not really convinced, to be honest. I think any chance that Rodgers has the ability to get rid of Iheanacho out of the team, I think he's going to do so. We now have James Maddison at 7 million. Very injury prone, but a very reasonable price. I think it's 7 million. If he would have came in at 6.5 million, he would have been heavily considered, maybe even almost template. And then Vardy going up another 0.5 million. This doesn't really make too much sense to me, in my opinion. I think 10 million would have probably been fine. But again, usually players get priced 0.5 higher than what they would normally be. But so yeah, so Leicester looking quite interesting. Be very intrigued to see what their defenders come at. Here is Chelsea now. Now, Chelsea, if we look at their start to the season, they're down the bottom as well. They have a very good fixture off the start versus Crystal Palace and what would seem to be an okay fixture versus Arsenal and then Villa in game week 4. But Liverpool, Spurs, and City in the opening 6 doesn't scream must-haves to me. N'Golo Kanté, not really an FPL asset. Timo Werner at 9 million. Again, a slight price drop there. Is he someone that I'm going to go towards? Definitely not. I predicted him to be the Golden Boot winner last season. That didn't really pan out. And he isn't really starting for Germany, so it's going to be interesting to see how he does for Chelsea in those opening 6. Mendy and Azpilicueta at 6 million. This makes a lot of sense. I expected Mendy to probably be at 6 million. Chelsea's defense is just really good. So if you start off with one of the defenders and you're starting on like a week 2 wild card, that would make a lot of sense to me personally. I'm gonna have to really look into the fixture swings to see if that's a very viable strategy. But usually game week in between game week 4 and 5 and game weeks 8 and 9 is usually when people wild card, and there's gonna be no real crazy situations, hopefully, where we have a team self-isolating and fixtures getting cancelled and all this sort of stuff. Moving on to Aston Villa, who actually did have a situation where they had to make up games because of isolations and having to shut things down and whatnot. Martinez, we expected him to come at 5.5 million. There's no real surprises here. He's not really going to be an option next season, but he is a very good goalkeeper. Tyrone Mings at 5 million is quite interesting. Be interested to see the full Villa price reveals for their defenders. If we got like Cash or somebody like that at 4.5, that could be quite interesting. But I expect them to be 5 million almost certainly. Watkins and Grealish, however, I am very interested in. Buendia coming in as well. I believe I saw a thing for Fantasy Football Scout that he was at 6 or 6.5 million, which could be very intriguing. Watkins at 7.5 million, definitely better than Bamford's price for sure. I believe he did just as well as Bamford, so him being 7.5, so 0.5 cheaper is just a no-brainer for me. And Villa's fixtures for the first 3 are fantastic. Watford away, Newcastle at home, Brentford at home. Not really much better than that. And then the next 3 aren't great. And if you expand it just a few past that, and we look for Villa, it's a bad streak of 4, and then they have Wolves and then Arsenal, so a bit mixed. So the opening 3 could be quite nice. So maybe an attacking asset there. But apart from that, probably wouldn't go near the defense after game week 3 based on the fixtures. But I like Grealish's price at 8 million. Very enticing prospect there indeed. Everton, top with a fixture ticker with Southampton at home, Leeds away, Brighton away, Burnley at home, Aston Villa away, Norwich at home in the opening 6. Calvert-Lewin, 8 million. Probably going to be a shoe-in most players' teams. Just makes a lot of sense. 8 million is a very reasonable price. James Rodriguez at 7 million could be quite interesting, although he is quite injury-prone, so that's a very interesting prospect there. Richarlison, a little bit of a decision to make at 7.5 million versus Calvert-Lewin's 8. And then Luca Digne, 5.5 million. They actually dropped him down by 0.5 million, which is quite interesting. So maybe he does find a way into our teams for the opening 6 games. I mean, you could probably expect a clean sheet against Burnley, Norwich, almost certainly, maybe Brighton, depending on how they shape out. So I think very, very good prospects there for Everton. I'm really liking the prices and how they've structured them. One of the better teams, the way they've structured the prices. Now here come the big boys. It's Man City. Man City's fixtures off the start are a bit mixed. You know, they have Spurs, Arsenal, Leicester, and Chelsea in the opening 4. But they do have that one really good fixture versus Norwich. And they have one against Southampton as well, both of which are at home. Now, the players that they revealed here as well. Diaz, 6 million. No real surprises there. I honestly thought they were going to be 6.5 million, to be perfectly honest. But 6 million will definitely take. Only a 0.5 million price increase. They were more expensive than this to end last season, which is, you know, a little bit of a gift there, I guess. Morris at 9 million. Is that a bit on the expensive side? Maybe. We'll have to see. Sterling, definitely too expensive based on his form, and he hasn't been playing well in the Euros. Yes, he did score for England, but hasn't had the performances that we'd like. And De Bruyne, 12 million again. So now we have Salah, 12.5. Bruno, 12 million. Son's 10 million. De Bruyne's 12 million. Kane's 12.5 million. Vardy's gone up 0.5 to 10.5 million. A lot of expensive players, and you can only probably have realistically 2 of them. So it's going to be very interesting to see what teams are going to look like, because there's going to be a lot of different teams out there with just 2 of these guys out of the like 5 or 6 that are super, super expensive. So going to be very interesting to see if players go for De Bruyne off the start. If Spurs were to take Kane, it would probably be insane not to potentially have De Bruyne and Kane off the start. It would be a bit interesting. And then lastly, we have Newcastle, whose fixtures off the start, I can't remember if they were any good. West Ham at home, Villa away, Southampton at home, not terrible. And then Leeds and Watford are on the other side of a Man United away, so not terrible. But if we look at some of the players that we have here, this is on Newcastle's website, so they revealed it for their full team. Dubravka, if he stays in goal, again, 4.5 million, not too bad for a Newcastle goalkeeper. If we look at, like, if we had to rotate Brighton as an example, who Sanchez came in at 4.5. You know, he's got a good 1, 2, 4, and 6. Does, let's say, does Newcastle, I'm just going to look here, does Newcastle have a very good game week 3 and game week 5? Let's see. So game week 3 they have Southampton at home, and game week 5 they have Leeds at home. So potentially it could be a little bit of rotation if you know Dubravka or Darlow, whichever one is starting, with Sanchez as a rotating goalkeeper partnership for the opening 6. Could be quite interesting. Then you have Matt Ritchie, who's 5 million defender. Clark, Lascelles, Dummett, Kraft. Shar has gotten a price decrease to 4.5 million, which is quite interesting. Jamal Lewis, 4.5 million. So all of the defenders got a very, very big price decrease, with Matt Ritchie being the one that's just the outlier there, being 5 million. Almiron, 5.5 million. Frazier, Hendricks, Murphy, all of these sorts of players at a very cheap price. But the interesting thing is that St. Maximin has been moved to a forward, which is very interesting. I'm not sure if this is a typo on their part, but St. Maximin is a 6.5 million forward. Now, this is very interesting to me because he played a lot on the wing, from what I remember. And typically, the only reason they changed their price point or changed their, where they play is based on if they play, if they play up front. And I don't remember him playing too much up front. Maybe it was a couple of games towards the end of the season when Wilson was still injured and he came back, he was playing up front. That is definitely a possibility. With 6.5 million as a forward, probably kills off St. Maximin, who was a 5.5 million midfielder last season. So that's going to be very interesting to see. Callum Wilson at 7.5 million. That's probably a bit steep. I would probably like to see him at 7 million. Just be a little bit lower than the likes of Watkins and those sort there. You're saying that is Callum Wilson the same type of price as Watkins? Probably not. But we'll have to see. But yeah, definitely interesting there as well. Let me see if they have a little thing on St. Maximin. Fellow forwards, St. Maximin and Joe. So they literally wrote it in. So he must be a forward, which is definitely quite interesting for the Magpies. And last but not least, we have Southampton here as well. While I was recording the video, I just wanted to check, like I did last time, to see if there was anything that came through. And Southampton's Fantasy Premier League prices have come through as well. So these were the initial ones that they put out. So I'm going to take a look at the season ticker. Whereas Southampton, they're towards the bottom, so it's not great. Everton away, Man United at home, so rough start, but potentially Newcastle, West Ham, and Wolves in the next 3 out of 4 from 3 to 6 could be quite good. And their fixtures after the fact are a little bit of a good streak after the Chelsea game. So maybe get them in, have them as more as a rotation option from game week 3 onwards, and then you have 2 real bad fixtures from 3 to 10, which is not too bad. So let's take a look at the prices. Ward-Prowse 6.5 million. I believe he was 6 million last season, 6 or 5.5, somewhere around there. So sure. Adams at 7 million is a bit on the weird side. I don't think he really deserved his price increase. I don't think he's very, he's not all that good. Walker Peters at 5 million. Bit disappointing to see. Could have wished for him at 4.5 maybe. Armstrong at 6 million. I believe that's what he was last season. Either that or 5.5. If we look at the goalkeeping situation, McCarthy and Forster both 4.5 million. Makes the most sense, to be honest. Just because, again, it's a situation where we don't know what goalkeeper it is, and they were very bad defensively, so a lot of players probably won't go there. Benderek at 4.5 million, that's probably not too bad. He's going to probably start alongside Vestergaard, who's 5 million, so if you're going to pick Vestergaard or Benderek, you're probably just going to pick Benderek in this situation. Walcott at 6 million, Bredman at 6 million, probably maybe slightly enticing, but not probably ideal. Danny Ings at 8 million, though, could be a bit of a shout. He was, I think, 8.5 million last season, so a little bit of a price decrease. I like that a lot. Personally, that would probably be the only one that would be interesting. So Southampton, again, fixtures off the start, not great, but again, thought I'd include them in the video because I like to check just before we finish things up. But let me know what you guys think about the price reveals. The game could be launching any minute now, so yeah, could be me on a stream the next time you see me. But let me know what you think in the comments down below, which players you're most excited about and their prices. And that's going to do it for this bundle of price reveals. I'm pretty sure we have a large portion of the player base in FPL at the moment, and we're probably going to get them trickled in throughout the rest of the day, and maybe they release the game. So that could definitely be a thing. So if the game gets released tomorrow, I won't do a price reveal video. What I'll do is I'll just do a stream when I'm basically available to go live and check out the full price reveals and do it much more in detail on that. These videos are just intended to be kind of initial reactions and my initial thoughts. But obviously when you plan things out and put them into perspective and see what the budget looks like in terms of how you can structure these player price points, that is where things get into the nitty-gritty. If you haven't done so already, make sure to hit that like button, subscribe if you haven't done so already, or if you are new. It greatly helps out the channel, and turn the notification bells on so you can get videos much like this one and many others throughout the FPL season as soon as they are readily available. And drop us a follow over on Twitter so you can see when we retweet all this lovely information for you for the price reveals, as well as give us a follow over on Twitch so that you can see exactly when we go live for the first stream of this new FPL season. Thanks for watching, and until the next one, take care.